some nerd power. It's the Falcon Paladin Hour, a podcast by Falcon, Paladin, and Somicron. Falcon hates puns and thinks that they're all wrong. One's American and one is an Aussie. Talking about StarCraft 2 and the esports scene.
Hello, and welcome, Falcon, to the Falcon Paladin Hour.
Well, thank you so much. I feel like that was an especially sultry greeting.
It is because this feels like a bonus episode, but it's not. It's just my week is all screwed up because I went to work today.
I hate it when you go to work. It's the worst.
Yeah, because it is Easter week, and that means I only get... Weirdly enough, it means I get 3 days off instead of 2, but they're all over the place. I'll have one yesterday. After tomorrow, I'll have one. Then I'll back to work for a day, and then I'll have another day off. But all of these...
Heaven forbid to get consecutive days off. That would be too nice.
Right. It's just the store's closed 2 days a week, so I get bonus days off, but I work extra hours on the other days. It's a nightmare. Like
Easter week is dumb. You guys need to stop worrying so much about Easter there, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I was almost very nearly tempted to be generous and throw a competition into the Discord, being like, whoever can guess how many hot cross buns I made today, like within 10, gets a free shirt, right?
Today.
Yeah,
and I guess would be...
I will give you a clue. On Monday, I made 950.
Okay. That's higher than I was going to guess. So I appreciate the clue.
You're welcome.
That's so... Like, how many on one tray?
45.
And how many trays can you cook at one time?
24.
Okay. So, yeah, that's some big math.
No, Aki, the competition is just for today. Like, you just have to guess the number that I made today. Not this week, just today.
So on Monday, it was 950.
Mm-hmm. 1024.
Close. Comes into 1024. I feel like that was fairly predictable.
Yeah, should have seen that coming from Aki 1024.
Uh-huh, exactly. And it's right in the zone, too, so that's pretty smart.
What's your final guess?
Oh, man. I'll just straight up say 1,200.
1,200?
Yeah.
I made 3,240.
Holy crap. How did you triple your output?
By tripling my input.
Oh, okay. Fair.
Yeah. Monday was a normal day. That's the trick, is that Monday is what we make every day. Like for like the last month.
And then you just worked like a 24-hour day?
Yeah, I started at 1 and I left work at 11, I think, or 10:30. And I was supposed to start at midnight, but I overslept.
Yeah, okay.
How many sold out of that 900 and something? 900 and something. There was very little left over this morning when I came in.
Yeah, they're not making these hot cross buns just to like display them. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, how many out of these 3,000 that I made will be sold will be interesting when I come in tomorrow. But they should mostly sell. And tomorrow I am making somewhere in the range of 4,500, 5,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Huh. How's your coworker helping out with this stuff?
I mean, any help is appreciated.
So what you're saying is not much?
I mean, more than she would on a normal day.
Okay.
So
good.
It's good. I'll take it.
Good.
Yep. I will take it.
So in years where you had competent help, would you personally be making fewer then? Or is your total bakery's output less than other years? Is the oven at maximum capacity, I'm asking?
Is the oven at maximum capacity? Yes.
Okay, so you can't make any more than you're making.
Well, if we had more people and more time, we could, right? Like, they don't really like it for one person to do more than like 10 hours on one of those days. And so
Right.
back when we had 3 people, the first person would come in from like midnight till 8 a.m. Second person would come in at 4 and do 4 till 12, and the third person would come in at like 5 and do 5 to 1. And so
Yeah.
that you'd have a good overlap of people doing stuff. I don't really. Here's the thing: everyone always doesn't seem to get why I can't remember what happened literally last year for Easter, even though it's the same thing. Easter, like I blocked them from my memory.
Right.
So,
Okay. So I'm asking
yeah.
you questions about things you have PTSD of.
Yeah, like
Right.
I
I'm
can't remember
sorry.
what it was like last year. It's a Red Bull fueled haze.
Your brain has protected you from the horrors of those events.
Yeah, so I mean, we would make probably the same, but it would be easier, or we would make more. It's hard to really remember or tell. I mean, like I said, tomorrow I'm going to make in the range of 5,000. I don't know if I'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be rooting for you. I
Ugh.
sure hope you can pull that off.
Yeah.
I think.
Me too. Me too.
Is that something I should want?
I don't know. I don't know.
Morally questionable. All right. Well, that's fun. Well, I'm back at work this week after taking last week off and being sick the whole time, so that was fantastic.
Yeah. Do you have lots of hot cross buns to make it work?
No. No. But there are
Okay.
definitely a lot of fires, so it's kind
Oh.
of similar to your work environment
Yeah.
where there is
no fire.
fire. I mean, the oven is kind of fire.
The oven is warm, but it's it's an electric oven.
Yeah, but it's performing the function of fire over the history of.
It provides heat, yes, but
Yeah.
there is no fire.
Okay, I'm trying my best here, okay?
I appreciate your best.
Anyway, I don't know. Work's just basically, hey, need you to do this thing. It's like, okay. And then I'm working on it. It says, hey, I need you to do this other thing. Okay, I'll do 2 things at once, I guess. And then, hey, we also need this. It's like, all right, man, I'm kind of reaching my capacity of things I can do at the same time, but all right.
Right.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's the best.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's cool. I'm down. The other 2 people on my QA team are off this week. One of them's sick. One of them just had it scheduled off. So I'm alone, which is kind of nice. Like, part of me is honestly like, I don't know, this is how I did it for several years. And it's just nice having that responsibility for everything in a weird way. Like, I feel like stuff can't fall through the cracks if I'm the person who's doing every single thing, right?
If you want a job done right, do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, I haven't had this happen. Like, it's not like my 2 team members have let stuff fall through the cracks.
Sounds like
part
it.
of me is just kind of worried that could happen, right? Because I'm not doing that everything anymore.
No, that's I get it.
Yeah, basically, I'm a control freak, is what I've decided.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I run this podcast. Yep, you're a control freak.
Exactly, 100%. So, anyway, it's been fine. It's been good. Oh man, so back before COVID, I don't know when this happened, but they combined 2 of our teams because their product backs up to our cloud, and so like we're pretty intertwined in a lot of ways there, right?
Okay.
So they combined us for a while because they had a big release and we had a big release at the same time. So it was just easier to be like, we're both on the same page with what we're doing, and anything new that comes in for their product, we hear about it, so we can accommodate it for our product and we can talk to each other, right?
Sure.
But then we did that for like 2 whole years. And like, part of the problem is we have these stand-ups in the morning where everybody gets in. We just kind of go around the room and talk about what's going on, or go around the video conference at this point.
Yeah.
And it just takes forever when there's 2 whole teams and everybody's saying what they're doing. And it's like, oh, why does this have 45 minutes every day? And so now we're back to our regular cloud team, and there's only like 8 of us, and it's super fast, and I like that part of it a lot. Just get in the meeting, blah, 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 get out. So
yeah,
that's nice.
I've always had stories of like, oh, we have a meeting every morning, and everyone's got to say what like they're working on or whatever. And I've always just wondered, like, can't it just be an email that you push to someone and then they share that to the relevant people who need to know what you're doing? I feel like it should not be everyone's job to sit on a conference and tell you what you're doing or what they're doing. Like,
right.
I should not have to listen to that.
No, I agree. And I mean, ideally, what it's supposed to be is you bring up things that you need help with.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Sure.
Like, okay, rest of the team, I'm struggling with this. Does somebody have any information or experience that can help me with this problem? And just get it out there. And it really shouldn't be everyone talking about what they're doing because nobody cares, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're right. That's the intent. But then people, they feel weird being like, I don't have anything today. So they just say what they're doing because that's better than just passing.
Right.
Anyway, it's all this whole psychological thing.
Could you imagine like everyone in the company having to do one big meeting for that? Like,
yeah, like thousands of people.
Like somewhere at like Facebook. It's just like, we have 12,000 employees. You must all be on a Zoom call at 4 a.m. to start.
I mean, man, so it's 45 minutes for like 30 people.
You have to be there at 4 a.m. on a Monday to talk about what you're going to do next week.
And it's the whole week. Yeah. Yeah, gross. Don't want that.
No bueno.
No. Anyway, blah, 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 work stuff. Let's talk about Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
Because, of course, it aired a week ago. Yeah. You didn't watch episode 2?
Until an hour ago.
Oh, awesome. Well, we got there. So that's good. So it's a lot fresher in your mind than it is in mine.
It sure is.
Because, like, yeah, if it airs on, basically airs
tomorrow.
5 hours after the pod happens,
it's like,
which is stupid.
Yeah, well, blame Disney.
I know. I do. I blame them for a lot of things.
Yep.
Anyway, Moon Knight, episode 2.
Yeah.
So a lot of things happened.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Many things happened. So one thing I just want to bring up is I appreciate how they introduced Layla into the story.
Okay.
Because it's not like they had her show up and be like, we were married and we went on all these adventures and, this is where I'm from and these are my special skills. Like, they did a pretty good job interweaving all of that information into, like, natural conversation and just kind of stuff like, she can read ancient Egyptian, right?
Uh-huh.
She tracked where Mark/Steven was using his phone. See the GPS. I told you about that.
Yeah. I mean, how long has it been since he turned it on? What's the battery life? Like,
for those old, that razor would run like 3 days at least.
Right. But I assume the battery's at least as old as the phone is. Does that thing not have any cellular decay or anything?
I mean, that's an excellent question. Is this a factory new battery for the razor that he found somewhere? Again, we talked about this last week. It's a crazy weird choice that his phone is a 2008 phone. It's nuts. It makes no sense. Just give him an iPhone. Why is this hard?
My theory is that Mark and Steven have been conjoined circa 2008. And so it's just the phone he had when he got stuck in there. And since he's, I don't know, keeping it on the down low, he doesn't want to change anything up too much in a way that might, I don't know, get back to Steven in some manner.
But Steven didn't know about the phone until 2022.
Right.
Whatever we are post-blip.
2027 or something, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the phone's been in there for a while. I don't know.
Whatever. I mean, it hasn't been in there for years that the battery is still working. No, sir. Nope. And Layla's only been trying to contact him for months or weeks or whatever she said, right? So
he could have been like, here's my new phone, but you also have my old phone number for our adventures, right? Like, here's my new phone for our adventures. You still have my old phone. That's cool. I'm going to keep that safe back at home.
And so she's calling that because she doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to maintain it's a weird, dumb choice that they made, and I don't understand why they did it.
It's a very weird choice.
So anyway, yeah, she's great. And then I like that she shows up in like the middle of the bad guy's lair and is just like, we'll be fine because Mark can just summon the suit and he'll kill everyone. It'll be fantastic. And it's like, what are you? Wow. You have a lot of confidence here, lady.
For someone,
she doesn't have a plan. Her plan is show up, and then Mark goes Moon Knight and gets us out of there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for someone who Mark has been explicitly trying to keep out of the picture, she sure does know a lot about where the bad guy's lair is.
She sure does. And,
yeah.
Like, okay, that also I don't get. He's trying to keep her out of the picture so that I can't remember the Egyptian god's name. Khonsu, thank you. So that Khonshu's doesn't tag her as the next Moon Knight.
Yeah.
But can he do that against her will?
And
if he can, then why does Mark isn't around her anymore? How is that a viable strategy?
Khonshu is really specifically focused on watching his avatar, not random people. So the further she gets away from him, the less he's interested in.
So Mark gets out of his contract and doesn't want to do it anymore, and the only available options Khonshu has to replace him are people in the immediate vicinity of Mark.
Possibly.
Nope. I don't buy it.
I mean, hey,
don't buy it. That's all. I just have questions. I don't expect you to have the answers, but I don't understand some things about what the show is trying to do.
I mean, I don't understand why the bad guy walks around with glass in his shoes, but hey, shit happens.
Yeah, no, that's very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Ethan Hawke, by the way.
Ethan Hawke?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't the game name like Arthur Harrow or something?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. I don't know who that is.
I know. That's because you're not old. So anyway, I think,
Thank you.
He's... so he's been a pretty compelling villain. I think I'm okay with him. I did like the reveal that he used to be the previous Moon Knight. He was an avatar of Khonshu and then was rejected or something happened there. It's not quite clear, right?
He betrayed Khonshu and instead now worships a different god.
Right.
Yeah.
That is trapped. That he wants to get back.
I like the reveal that his ability to judge people is entirely bullshit.
Oh.
Because
what do you...
At the very end, there's a homeless dude who finds the scarab just like on the street, and he's like, that belongs to me. I can give you food, I can give you clothes, but that is mine. And he comes up and he takes his hand and just kills him. He's like, I'm sorry you won't live to see the world we're creating. He doesn't do the scales, he doesn't get his magic stick to swing, he just kills him.
Right,
so
true fact.
The magic scales and swinging is all for show. And doesn't actually do anything. He's just killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but so he has the ability just to quietly, mysteriously murder people in a way that we don't understand.
Yep.
Do you think the judging thing is fake?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the judging thing is real. He just has the capability to use magic and murder people if he wants to. Anyway.
Okay.
Like he judges them, and then the judging result, he makes the choice to kill them. It's not an automatic thing.
Well, sure, but you have to trust the judgment, and the judgment is a magical god. And at that point, if you believe that the judgment is real, you have then basically saying that thought crime is real.
Yes, Minority Report stuff, right?
Yeah. Which I don't think it is.
I agree.
Just because, I don't know, I don't like the introduction of gods into anything.
Fair. Totally. Speaking of that, I like how kind of petulant Khonshu is. He's kind of a child, right?
Kind of, yeah. He's like, no, you will listen to me, rustle some leaves.
Yeah, blows some wind in his direction. And when Arthur's like, we're going to rid the world of evil and we're going to get rid of evil before it happens, not after it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And Khonshu's like, hey, that's not how it's supposed to work. Like, he's like,
I'm the fist of vengeance.
Yeah. Like, he's kind of like Batman about it. It's like great.
You'll ruin the Batman movies.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of Khonshu a lot. He's not just like a stoic, emotionless force for justice.
Mm-hmm.
He wants things, and he's not above manipulating people, and he's not above throwing a temper tantrum when he doesn't get his way. It's a much more personable version of a god than some other versions we've seen in fiction.
Yeah. The fact that they're trying to resurrect the other god who will just kill people willy-nilly, I mean, suggests that it's dead, or at least some version of dead.
Trapped?
They use the word resurrect.
Fair.
So I'm going to assume it's mortal, therefore not an actual god. Lowercase g. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, if a god can die, it's not an uppercase god.
I'll give it like a Thor kind of god, you know?
Yeah.
Extremely long lifespan, tough as hell, not an actual deity.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair. So yeah, alligator god. Okay, so they lose the scarab. And then Mark's just like, we'll figure it out. And I'm like, what? What is your plan, dude? Like, they have the magic scarab that points them in the direction of this tomb. You do not have the scarab. How? They're just going to wander out into the desert and be like, boy, I sure hope Arthur shows up. We can follow him to this thing. Right?
We will go to Egypt, go to where no one's done an archaeological dig with a metal detector.
The one place left in all of Egypt.
I do love that they they reveal that where he is, and he's sitting there drinking his alcohol, and he gets up and he looks outside, and there's the 3 pyramids of Giza. Right. I do love that shot because it looks like what you would expect Egypt to look like with all these non-Western buildings and all that. But something I learned about Egypt, which is in Transformers 2, they could only show the pyramids from a certain angle because right next to them, like 25 feet away from the pyramids, are streets and a KFC pointing right at them. Like,
kind of ruins the aesthetic a little bit.
Yeah, it's same with stuff like Stonehenge. You can only ever show them from certain directions because there's a highway going right past.
Can we not respect the ancient wonders of the world, people? Is it that hard? Come on.
I mean, we can, but people need to live there.
Just give them some space. That's all I'm asking.
Hey, man, people want chicken. They didn't put a cake. Yeah, it's a big country.
It's a big country.
With a lot of sand that people can't live there. I mean, what are you going to do? Build a city in this desert like Abu Dhabi or something? No, let's not do that again. That's a terrible idea. I mean, at least they didn't put the KFC in a pyramid. Come on.
That's true. I mean, somebody wanted to do that. They're like, anyway.
We could carve out a little bit of this pyramid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then when tourists go inside, there's a KFC. Tourists get hungry. They want chicken.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
We could wrap it in bandages to soak up some of the grease. Mummy themed. That's great.
Gross. Yeah. All right. So we covered all that stuff. Okay. So one of the questions I had after watching episode 2 is Steven a full construct of Mark's?
Or is
like
it the other way around?
Created? I don't think so, because it sure seems like if one of their lives is fake, it certainly seems like it's Steven's. Right? Nobody at work knows his name. He leaves voicemails for his mother, who never answers the phone.
Because he's living in her apartment.
He doesn't, right? That's what he thinks.
Because she's dead.
Right, that's it. Either she's dead or she's made up. And he's been given the backstory that he has a mother who loves him very much. And he leaves her voicemails, but she doesn't exist.
So there's a couple of options. I think Steven is the prime personality, if this is split personality. Because Steven's never known what it's like to exist in the mirror before.
Yeah.
And so if Mark had been running around for years, like, I think Stevie would have noticed that at some point before.
Or he doesn't remember what it's like to be in the mirror.
It's possible, but I feel like he's got too much memory of his entire life before that. I still am not against Mark is a implant into Steven. Because Konsu was like, you were a little more than a corpse when I found you, dude.
Yeah.
And so I have a feeling that he took his soul, stuck him in another body, and was like, chill here for a bit. Because Mark keeps promising Steven, he's like, hey, once we're done, I'm out of here. You'll never hear from me again.
That's true. That is a good point. He does keep saying that.
Yeah, which, whether or not he keeps that promise, I don't know. Remains to be seen.
Yeah. So the indication would be that he dies.
Maybe.
He's finally put to rest or something.
I mean, here's the thing. He might be technically telling the truth where it's like, you'll never see from me again because I'm going to suppress you so goddamn hard. Like, you never come out of the deepest, darkest shadow of my psyche. Which is technically like never seeing him again, but really not what Steven wants. Because he can't, like, leave. Maybe he gets a new body and leaves, I don't know. But he can't just die because then Konsu just makes a deal with Layla. So whatever it is about him leaving, Stevie has to still keep his avatar ship with the god.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's got to be into a different body or just full control. Which is technically true, but not really in the spirit of things. And given the fact that he asked for control briefly and then now refuses to give it up, tends to paint him as not quite the honest level guy.
Right. That was pretty underhanded of him.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm. I do like the fact that the suit ability is whatever suit you want.
Yeah.
That's a neat touch. It's like, I do look pretty good though.
Yeah. So in the comics, apparently that version of the suit is a Mr. Knight or something like that.
Mr. Knight.
Uh-huh. And he's used for investigation.
Okay.
So he's not really a fighter. He's more an analytical, more gathering evidence, more talking to witnesses. He does that kind of stuff. And then Moon Knight just punches people when he needs to.
Sure.
So yeah. So again, I don't think we're going comics here. I think they're taking stuff from the comics and making their own story.
Yeah.
But the concept of a Mr. Knight who's in a 3-piece white business suit is not new.
Yeah, my brother was telling me that the Statue Man, he's actually credited in the credits, obviously. But they gave him his name. Like, he's obviously never called anything in the show, but he has a name, and that name is actually an associate of Mark's in the comics, who's like a homeless dude who like spends his time on the street collecting information.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice little nod.
It might be that this Statue Man knows some stuff.
Could be.
Could be. Or he could just be there for the cameos as Stevie slowly loses his mind.
100%. That's definitely a possibility too.
Can I talk about how upsetting it was when they were sacking him from the museum to be like, do you have any museum property on your person? And they make him give back his name badge.
Yeah.
That is so upsetting. No one got his name right, and you want to take it off him.
Well, and he's like, no, of course not. I don't have anything. And then the administrator's just like looking at him, and he's like, dude, you asshole. Like, if you want the name badge, ask him for it. Don't make him figure out what you're talking about, you jerk. Ugh. And then, to take it, like, what do you care about a stupid $3 magnetic name badge?
Not even $3. Like 45 pence or something. A tuppence or something. It's cheap.
I mean, inflation's the thing. But yes, you're right. Super cheap. Yeah, and he's so sad about it too. Yeah, I don't know. I So then there's the other line where Khonshu's like, you promised, talking to Mark, you promised he wouldn't be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Stevie.
Mm-hmm.
And so that to me feels like Stevie's a personality created to help Mark hide.
I immediately found a website where you can buy 200 plus more of these name badges for 97 cents each.
Holy crap. Okay, incredibly cheap. Let him keep this stupid badge.
Yeah.
Not that hard.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we saying? That it's part of the deal to keep him out of it.
Yeah, he just said, Mark, you promised that this Stevie wouldn't interfere. He wouldn't get in the way. You promised, which indicates that like Khonshu's like, are we sure we want to do this? This feels like it's going to be a problem later. And Mark was like, no, I'll be fine. Right? Which to me indicates that, that Steven came later, but I don't know. We'll see. I assume they'll tell us at some point. But I bring this up because Oscar Isaac's done a great job of making me like feel for Stevie. Like you said, when he gets fired, you feel for the guy.
Yeah.
And if he's some constructed personality made from whole cloth and not a real boy, it's like, is his existence valued less? Is he like an artificial intelligence who's gained sentience? And is that a real boy? And does it matter? Like Blade Runner stuff right here.
Well, the interesting thing is, if Mark, prior to this, could just keep control 24/7, why didn't he? Like, why did he let Stevie have any kind of a life to begin with? Like,
what does he need Stevie for at all?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a great question. I don't know.
Yeah, don't know. I do not know.
Because clearly he's like, okay, if he was laying low for an extended period of time, then yeah, sure. Stevie as a cover for like a couple years makes sense. But that's not happening. He's going out on missions now. He's like, Stevie's losing days. So what's the point?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
Okay, so when Stevie gets arrested by the cops, are those actually cops?
No, they're working for Arthur. They bring him directly to Arthur.
Well, they could still be cops. They could just be crooked. Like,
okay, right.
I'm just trying to work out whether or not the line about him being an internationally wanted man is real. Because Stevie could not go get a driver's license or whatever without him having having to give a birth certificate and getting put into a system somewhere. Someone eventually is going to get a match of this person and be like,
this face is going to be something somebody has seen before.
Yeah, or like, hey, you're trying to rent this apartment, eh? Could we have a picture of your license? We're going to do a background check to make sure you're not a psychopath. And, look at that. You're wanted for murder in Interpol.
Right. You are a psychopath. Huh. Good thing we did this background check.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, they'd meet Stevie and be like, okay, this guy is not a murderer. No way he killed 8 people, right?
Right.
No. But you're right. They'd pick him up and they'd definitely hold him for a really long time.
Uh-huh. They'd hold him just long enough for Mark to convince him to let him take over.
Right. And Stevie wouldn't be able to be like, here's my alibi of where I was during this time, because he doesn't have an alibi because he was there.
It's true.
So they might just put him away in that situation. Yeah.
They might.
Fantastic. So yeah, I don't know where they're going with this. But it makes me want to come back for more. So I guess they nailed that.
Fair. Yep.
Fair. So also, how weird is it that only apparently Arthur and the Moon Knight can see the jackals that are summoned? Is that weird? It's weird, right? Why are they invisible?
I don't know. These things are always invisible. Like, what? I don't know why. I feel like I've watched lots of other shows where it's like only the chosen few can actually see the beast. So like people who have read from the Book of Amun-Ra can actually do things, you know?
So like it's an Egyptian thing is what you're saying.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like these things were always invisible to like the regular folk.
So give me another example. What are you thinking?
The Sorcerer's Apprentice, right, with Nick Cage.
Okay.
All of like the magic stuff are just like, Harry Potter. The magic shit's invisible to a lot of the Muggles.
Well, sort of. The way that it's explained in the books is that the Muggles don't pay attention.
They don't pay attention to a double-decker bus squeezing between two other double-decker buses. I feel like that bus is just invisible.
No, I'm not even kidding.
Really?
Yes.
Just nobody notices?
Correct.
London, the land of CCTV on every corner street, doesn't notice?
Well, the Prime Minister's in on it. So he knows about the magic world. So he just keeps all that stuff scrubbed. I don't know, man. Look, it's a great point. I'm just saying, in the books, the point is not that the stuff is invisible in Harry Potter.
Dementors are invisible, aren't they?
Yes, Muggles can't see Dementors. That's true.
Okay, well, there you go.
Example. Yeah, nailed it.
God, I hate Harry Potter. How do I remember this crap?
So I don't know. Do you think it's intentional on the part of whatever power is sending the jackal
to make it invisible?
Yes, invisible to everybody. But okay, if it's going to be invisible,
it's also invisible on CCTV.
Yes,
it's probably intentional from Harrow. He's like trying to cover it. Like he doesn't want people knowing he can summon jackals and shit. So I assume that he's like, summon me up, your best invisible boy.
Right. So, okay, so then, so the assumption here is that the intent is for it to be invisible to everyone, including Moon Knight, because that's a pretty solid advantage to be invisible to the thing.
Moon Knight has an Egyptian god's blessing and powers.
That's the thing, right?
That's the thing, yeah.
So if they could make the jackal invisible to Moon Knight, they would, and they're trying, but they can't.
Khonshu is invisible to Harrow. He can't see or hear him anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
So Khonshu decides who he's visible to.
Yeah. And so I assume part of the blessing is maybe that all the jackals are invisible and you have to be blessed to see them.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Sure.
Right. No, I'm not asking for a nuts and bolts how.
Uh-huh.
It's just an interesting choice, I guess.
I assume the choice is entirely intended so that you can keep the mystery of whether or not Steven is actually schizophrenic or not. Because he can't explain anything to anyone about what's happening because he's seeing things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, that was a good moment too, where he has the security guard who again doesn't know his name.
Yeah.
Run back the tape. And the dude's like, "Are you crying?"
Yeah, a bit.
Oh, that's so good.
I did mildly laugh when the security guard's like, "Don't tell the boss I let you into this arena." Like you let him behind a counter. I mean, he could have leant over and seen the monitors anyway. Right. Oh God, what a dick.
He's concerned about that, but not concerned about people like coming into a museum to cause harm to the patrons. Like that's not his concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, it's good. I'm excited for the next episode in 4 hours.
You know, I don't like that they're like, oh, we looked at the CCTV and you went into the bathroom, then you came out, and then they were broken. You must have done it. Couldn't he have just said, I went in there and they were broken, so I left? Like, he doesn't leave covered in bruises and blood, and the things were smashed up violently. Like,
right.
That would have left some wear and tear on him. I feel like
invisible too.
I feel like they're typecasting him or something. You know, it's like, oh,
the weirdo.
The weirdo went into the bathroom. The bathrooms were broken. Must have done it.
Yeah, but then they also have tape of the last person who was in there before Stevie, like the cleaning crew or a security guard or something.
But they said they assumed it was burst pipes. Maybe it was burst pipes. Like,
well, yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like he got sacked for bad reasons. I don't like it.
Yeah, for story purposes, obviously.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Let's talk about Halo. Unless there's something else in Moon Knight you wanted to cover.
I don't want to talk about Halo.
Okay, but you're still watching it. Okay, that's all.
I'm still present in front of my monitors while it is playing.
Yes.
Whether or not I'm checked in or not is, I don't know.
Different question.
It's a different question. I mean, so the thing, it's just, I don't even know where to start. I didn't know where to start 2 episodes ago, and I still don't know where to start. There's so much wrong with it. There's like, the main villain's a human working with the Covenant for some reason, because they rescued her, because all the humans are just bad. Like, every single person of humanity is portrayed to be a bad person in some way, which is what makes me think it's actually a 40k show, because the opening scene of episode 3 is these like little boy and girl in a recycling planet, basically, hiding under some rubbish while they read from a book they found, and all of the guards there are like beating people to meet quotas and being like, if you mix your papers and plastics, you're gonna have to like do an extra shift or something, right? Like actual quote. And they're like shock mauling people, and they find the kids, and I'm like, oh, okay, so these are Adeptus Arbites being like, hey, listen here, you menial, get back to your one-assigned duty for your 40 years standard life before we recycle you into corpse starch and sell your hair and organs to the wealthy for pillows and regen treatments. Like, you can run a recycling plant without beating people. Like, the UNSC is a big enough place that they can afford to do that. Like, you don't need to make everyone awful for no reason. And then the Covenant show up, and they have like a gravity hammer, but it's more like a mace, and it doesn't hit things. It detects magical artifacts. And they're like, oh, it's behind this girl. And then one of them's like, no, it is the girl. So they take her and raise her as from a child to being like an adult. And so she's like down with the Covenant, yeah, because they said she's magic, and she believes it. That's it. She hates humans because they beat her as a girl. I mean, all of the UNSC is cool with murdering a teenage girl from Madrigal and installing a warlord who's literally going around the streets killing people, just so they have lower fuel costs. Everyone's down with that. Literally everyone in the show is a bad person, which makes me think it's a Halo show. Not a Halo show, a 40k show.
But why? What Halo books did they read where every human is bad? Like, it's not that all humans are good, but like, there's a mix. There's some that are good and some that are bad. This is how things work. This is reality, and this is the Halo universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's all. Because they didn't play the games. They're very proud of that. Fine. But like, they said they read the books. What's this from?
They didn't say they read the books. They said they had a conversation with people from 343 about the books and the lore and the characters. That's what they said. They didn't actually read any books either.
Okay, that's a lot worse than I thought. Wow.
Yeah. But in this episode, we get to see the Master Chief's butt. Good-looking dude. Pablo Schreiber, I think his name is.
I mean,
yeah,
he better have a nice butt.
He does have a nice butt.
Yeah.
He gets Cortana's help to like cut open his own back to remove his emotion-suppressing pellet.
Right.
How big a
cut does that require?
How big of a cut? About a 1.3 centimeter cut.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. He then goes onto like the subway, and Cortana's fantastic in this, by the way. She doesn't need any apparatus to appear. She's simply embedded in John and therefore can appear anywhere. Like, she appears from John when he's naked. Like,
So there's a projection device inside John's body.
Yes, that points in 360 degrees around him.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's like in his head. It's got to be.
Well, they literally show her implanting, like, in the games and the books, he has, like, a neural interface, like every UNSC Marine.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that. So they go through, like, a big spiel of, like, making him go unconscious for surgery and then injecting a Cortana drug into his, like, the base of his brain. And then they, like, put a Band-Aid on it and it's cool. And that's it.
Simple.
Yeah. Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Anyway, he no longer has his inhibitor suppressant pellet and goes for a walk. And Cortana's in his head like, yo, your sensory data is telling me you've never taken the subway before. This train goes to Roppongi Park and blah, blah, blah. And so he gets on a train and then gets off the train and then sees musicians in the street. And he's like, oh my God, music, I can hear it. The sounds are so vivid now. It's like the first time he's heard music kind of a deal. Yeah, it's not good. It's really not good. Also, Pablo, 6'5", Spartans are supposed to be like even bigger than that. Mm-hmm. He does not look 6'5" against the crowd. Like he's definitely like a head taller than people, but he's supposed to be massive. Like
yeah.
I also don't think in the story and the lore, Spartans get a lot of free time to just wander about civilian areas. But we've already had the issue of they're not a top secret SWAT team, essentially. They're just kind of like an open secret. Like, yeah. They even have like the issue of, well, we can't punish the chief for disobeying commands because he's the face of the army. Like, morale is so tied to the chief at this point. It's like, people can't tell Spartans apart because they spend so much time in their damn armor. Like, they don't. Yeah. Except everyone's got different armor, and some of the Spartans now don't trust the chief because they saw him taking out his pellet or something. And they're like, what are you doing? That's against protocols. But that hasn't come up yet. I wonder how it will. But they'll trust him because he's the chief.
And they like his armor.
They like his armor. Well, he spends more time out of his armor than in it at this point.
All right. This all hurts me. I'm in pain.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better. So he takes out his pellet, and then he goes back to touch the Forerunner artifact again to be like, now that I don't have, like, emotion-suppressing stimulants in my body, I'll get a better vision. And he touches it and realizes that he grew up on, like, some planet with a dog and, like, a mother and a father, and then they were burying something, and in his childhood he saw another artifact that this artifact might fit into, so they're going to go to that planet, but I can already tell you right now, having not seen episode 4, they're going to get there and find that they were burying the dog, because the dog was not in the scene where they're burying something.
Oh, so basic following clues there. I see.
Yeah, that's my guess. That's my guess. It's like, great. They're burying the dog.
A big traumatic scene for young John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, they're playing up that Cortana's like a low-key villain as well. It's like, oh, what if we go to this planet and John realizes the truth about his childhood? And, like, that's what Cortana's for. And then she materializes a menacing stare into the cameras. Like, she can literally just shut down John, like, motor controls at any time. It's just like, no, you don't get to walk now anymore. Like, I've got control.
I don't think that should be possible.
Well, that's why they invented AI in this world. To upgrade Spartan consciousness with AI consciousness that are more easily controlled because they're programmed to be perfect. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, okay. To put them on leashes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
There's still more that's bad as well. It's like, oh, Horsley's flash cloning herself to make an AI. In the book, she cloned 20 of her, and like she cloned herself 20 times, and she specifically gave more attention to detail in the brain because she knew that's what she would harvest. So all of their clones are basically like deformed monstrosities with over-enlarged brains in back attacks. Like they're not people. In this, it's just like a bald clone of her, and she's like having a conversation where this clone knows, like, has all her memories as well, and is like, oh, I can tell since you testing my intelligence that you're here for my brain. And she's like putting together a puzzle or whatever to show how smart she is. Right? It's like, oh, you hacks, you lazy fucking hacks. Give her a puzzle to show that this person is smart.
Is it at least like a big puzzle with small pieces?
No, it's a big puzzle with big pieces.
Oh no. All right.
It looks like it has maybe 6 pieces. Like it's a 3-dimensional puzzle, if nothing else, but it's very rudimentary. Right. It's like a square. It's like a pyramid, but with like the faces cut out. It's not very difficult to solve. And then like her assistant is also just a creepy, weird dude. Bringing it back to everyone's evil. He's like prepping the brain, like the clone for surgery, and he's like, for reasons, we need to keep you awake. But this will stop you from moving. And he gives her a drug, and she's like, will it hurt? He's like, I imagine so. And then while she's paralyzed, he's like, let me lean in for this kiss. And then he hears actual Halsey coming. He's like, whoop, nope, never mind. I wasn't doing anything weird to the clone. Definitely don't want to copy this back at my hab.
Oh, no.
Everyone's a scumbag.
That is such a weird choice. That is such a weird choice to be like, all right, every human in the show is despicable in some way. Not just like morally gray, like bad.
Awful.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. So Warhammer show it is.
It's a Warhammer show. Yeah. Very nearly, at the very least.
Incredible.
Oh, follow up from last week. At the very end, I kind of forgot what I was talking about.
Oh,
but
okay.
It relates to Halo because hate watching. Things that are bad that I'm forcing myself to watch. There is another thing on this list that I have not mentioned, which is How I Met Your Father.
Oh, no. Why?
Because I love How I Met Your Mother.
Yes, fine. I understand this. It doesn't mean you have to watch the obviously terrible, gonna be terrible from the day of the announcement sequel. Or whatever it is. Is
spin-off.
It a sequel?
It's sort of. It's a spin-off.
Chronologically after?
Yes, it is chronologically after, but it is a spin-off. And they've already said that they're going to try and have cameos and shit from the original cast. And I'm like, please, for the love of God, no.
Leave Neil Patrick Harris out of this.
You leave Ted Mosey. The actor's name is Josh Radnor, and I don't think he's literally worked in anything other than plays and stage performances other than this. And that is the perfect kind of actor, because he is just that character to me. Like, he'll never be that dude from Fast and the Furious who also happens to be Riddick, you know?
Right. Yeah, good point. And he's loaded. Like, come on.
Oh,
he starred in a show that ran for 14 seasons?
8.
8, and is in syndication for the rest of time. He's fine.
Yeah. He's loaded.
Yeah. Good job, Ted.
But let me just say that I am 5 episodes into How I Met Your Father, and it is also pain on every level.
Wow. You are very strong. You're a strong person.
I am a masochist.
Yes.
I don't know if that's strength.
I mean, I don't know what percentage of the population can hate, like, really sit through 5 whole episodes of something that they despise. I think most people would turn it off long before then, right?
I don't know, because stuff like Hell's Kitchen still gets renewed, or like American Idol. I can't fathom people enjoying those shows either, but they do, apparently. I don't believe them, but they say they do. I don't believe them.
So you think they're
like, I don't the time. I think a lot of people find one musician on like American Idol or whatever, or Australian Idol as I know it. They find one person that they like and then have to spend 40 minutes out of a 45-minute program watching people they don't like sing. Like, how is that not pain?
Well, so it's cringe, right?
Well, I mean, the
different thing.
auditions are definitely cringe.
Yeah.
But I think even after the audition phases, it's not cringe. It's just...
Right. After the audition phase, it changes into a different thing. Right.
It's still just really bad. Like, I think shows like The Voice or The Choice, which is where they have those spinning chairs, where it's like, oh, I like this person that's singing. I'm going to add them to my team. And they hit a button and they spin around. The idea being that they can't see them when they sing, so they don't have any preconceived notions about what they look like. I think that's entirely cringe. That show can't be anything but cringe. It's like singing and spinning chairs.
Yeah.
That's a show, people.
Fair. I've never watched a second of it, so I'll trust you on this one. But okay, we're running out of time here, but I need you to tell me something about How I Met Your Father that is the worst.
Every 4 lines of dialogue is them trying to fit in a catchy, popular, like, phrase or slogan, like "that's lit," or, you know, YOLO, or something that seems contemporary, modern, and it's like, oh, it's really hard to really pinpoint it for, like, just how bad it is and how often it is. It's awful. Like, they literally introduce a character who's like, hey, and he's been teaching me new slang, and then he tries, they say the slang, and then he's like, cool, I know I'm at work, but I need to take 4 hours off to go record my podcast, peace. And just, like, leaves the job. It's, I mean, I feel a little called out, but it's...
They see you.
They see me. It's, yeah, they're constantly trying to be like, we're hip. We know what the kids are saying.
Horrendous.
Yeah. I will find you a better example, and I will, like, find a clip or something and send it to you, because there's some really bad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So I'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well,
StarCraft happened.
It's true.
Yeah. Although it hasn't finished happening, which is a weird thing to say.
Because that's what GSL is now. It's longer.
It is longer. Why did it... No, I don't want recent events. Show me upcoming. What are you doing?
Current. Ongoing. You want ongoing.
I don't understand.
You want a link?
No, I found it. That's fine. Okay, so half of Group A is played.
Correct.
Yeah, so groups now have 2 rounds to them, essentially, where you verse a bunch of people, and then a week later you verse another bunch of people, all in the same group. So if you have any repeat matchups, which it doesn't look like it, to be honest, they're bigger groups, they're spread out, and I guess you can prepare a little bit more for certain players.
Yeah, makes sense.
I did not know this before, but okay.
Me neither.
Basically what it means to me is Beyond is in a rough spot, and I don't think mathematically he can get out.
Yeah, he got 2-0'd by Trap and 2-1 by Ryong.
Yeah.
Ryong also took a map off Rogue. Did you see that game?
I'll
tell you what happened.
Sure, tell me what happened.
Rogue double proxy racked inside the natural. Sorry, Ryong double proxy racked inside the natural of Rogue, and Rogue did not scout it.
I saw. That was rough. Yeah.
Tastosis was like, so there's not a way to, you can't really win this game, but if anyone can do it, it's Rogue. So let's see what he does.
Which, I mean, and then Beyond was like, they were like, hey, we're gonna 2-rax each other. And then Beyond the Madman was just like, I'll fucking do it again. And Ryung scouts it. He puts up a deeper at his Reaper jump, and he's like, oh, I see this as early as I possibly could. And it still dies because Reaper's a good unit, apparently. Beyond has figured it out in that final second to last match that he played, which is he just needs to make Reapers. Come on, Beyond.
Yeah, he's the Reaper King. Right.
They're your unit.
Just
come on, man.
Why go away from it, Bjorn? Do what got you here. Yeah.
Yeah. Just be the Reaper guy. It's cool.
Right.
And that's the
Yeah, and then one of those games, him and Ryung, it ended up being like 7 Reapers to like 8 Reapers, and like
and
Ryung had a mining base.
They were flying their orbitals across the other side of the map, and
yeah,
that was actually looking really close for a little bit because like Beyond would lose all his Reapers, but he got no, Beyond would lose his Reapers. Ryung would be down to like 2 Reapers and Marine, but Beyond's new Marines would be building faster than Ryung's, and so they might pop out and get a couple kills. It was looking really close.
It was crazy.
Did not go Beyond's way, but
no,
good for Ryung.
For sure, Ryung's doing some awesome stuff.
Yeah, managing it out 1-1. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing well. Good job, Ryung. We didn't believe in you. Not at all.
Prove us wrong.
I know. It's like, what else? I performed well at Katowice. What do you want from me?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. All right, that's all. I believe that's all the Starcraft. Was there anything else interesting that happened?
I mean, Ragnarok 2-0ing Trap was pretty nuts. And then taking a game off Rogue, too. A little bit.
I didn't see those games. Like, what do you do?
Best, I watched them. I don't think they were particularly...
Okay, so Trap played bad? Or just, like, kind of middling? Like, didn't do anything? Didn't, like, pull out all the stops, essentially. He didn't show up for the event.
Well, he went for a Resonating Glaive Adept attack. And even Tastosis was like, so... Trap is very capable of this.
I feel like Resonating Glaives is the Hellbat push for Protoss. It's like, it never works.
It is. It can work, but it never works. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I don't know, and it was being executed just at a level that Tastosis was like, this ain't it. Like, this is not the best Trap can do with this.
Yep.
Yeah. So Trap did not play up to his usual standards, but Ragnarok played a little better than I think he usually does. So that was kind of it.
Fair enough.
Anyway, good man, Ragnarok. I don't know. I just like seeing players that are kind of new to this kind of elite level win big games. It's nice. Nice to get new blood in that top 10, top 15. So, yeah. That's all.
I'm down. Yep. I mean, I don't think anyone's happy about 2 Zergs being on top of a group, but
no.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it goes.
The world we live in. Yeah.
Rogue could still get knocked out from number 1 spot.
He could.
He could. I don't think he will, but he could.
He could completely fail to scout his own natural base again. Like he sent an Overlord, so it covered like half of the net.
It covered the entrance, so he figured anything that would be coming in would be a little later than it was. Like apparently,
you'd see it, right? But no, sneaky Ryung.
Sneaky.
It was awesome. All right, cool. So that could be it from us.
I think so. Is there anything else we needed to cover?
No, not that I can think of.
I don't think so at all.
All right.
Cool. Let's wrap up.
All right. Yeah, so that's another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour with Somicron, streamed live at twitch.tv/Somicron.
You
can support the pod directly at patreon.com/Somicron. And also by buying merch, you support the podcast directly at falconpaladin.store. All right. So again, thanks for hanging out with us. Really do appreciate it. And until next week, stay safe and stay healthy. And above all, take care of yourself. Goodbye.
Bye.